caused a lot of debate, this policy today. Some outrage, others saying it's common sense. How do you think it will play out?
Well, look, Peter, this is a little bit of back to the future because going back to 30, 40 years, when you travelled overseas, you were armed with a passport and you also had a vaccination booklet, which had vaccination certification for typhoid, yellow fever, smallpox, malaria and a few other things that you didn't really want to get. And you simply couldn't get on an aeroplane without a vaccination book. So we're going back to what we used to have for a very good reason. This is a very, very potent virus. And the other issue is, passengers want to be absolutely assured that when they go to an airport terminal and then onto an aeroplane, they're not going to be next to somebody who's got COVID-19. So not only are we going to have to be vaccinated, and that's not just Qantas, that's across the globe. Not only do you have to be vaccinated, but you're also going to have a COVID-19 test because these vaccines at the moment have a effectiveness of between 90 and 95%, depending on which one you've got. So there's always a chance that you're sitting next to somebody who may be carrying the COVID-19, so you need that extra test. And the International Air Transport Association, IATA, which is the industry body, they want to roll out a mobile phone app that will have your certificate of vaccination and your certificate of COVID-19 testing within the last hours or so before the flight, before you're allowed to get on board an aeroplane.
So are you suggesting that they would have testing actually at the airport terminal? Is that sort of what's being mooted?
That's one of the things that's been mooted. I mean, with the testing, there's a couple of dynamics to that. First of all, there's the accuracy of it, the speed of it and the cost of it. Now, there's been significant strides made this year in improving all three. And I understand we're getting to a point where, yes, before you walked into the terminal, you'd have a test, takes a minute or two, you haven't got it, and away you go. That's the sort of thing they're moving towards. They want to make it as seamless and as easy as possible for passengers. They don't want queues going for miles outside a terminal. They want something that's really fast and really accurate as an absolute guarantee that everybody who walks through the terminal door doesn't have COVID-19.
Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt weighed in on this and he had a bit to say today. Let's have a listen.
Look, we'll leave that to Qantas. As a government, our responsibility is to make sure that our vaccine is available to every Australian. We've been clear, and I've given guidance previously, that we would expect that people coming to Australia, whilst COVID-19 is a significant disease in the world, will either be vaccinated or they will isolate. That's early guidance. It's not a formal decision that we've taken because it's still not at that time at this stage.
Now, I understand how a carrier could set terms and conditions for you to board its commercial flight. That's a contractual arrangement you have when you buy a ticket. But I'm looking for the head of power with which the government could force vaccination. I know they can withhold government funding. We see that with childcare. That was brought in when I worked for Tony Abbott. But I can't see how they can force you to vaccinate. It would be, wouldn't it, Geoffrey Thomas, that people just won't get on the plane if they're not vaccinated? Is that the way forward?
Well, the issue is this. While the Australian government may not force someone to have a vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, to go on a flight to Singapore, you may find the Singapore government says, well, unless you're vaccinated for COVID-19, you're not coming into the country. So we have a situation with airlines now. You come up to the counter and you're going to the United States and you haven't got the right travel documents, you haven't filled out the right forms, or you want to try and work there and you haven't got permission, they won't let you board. So that's the issue. It's more to the point what happens at the other end of your journey. And then for the airline like Qantas, if they fly you from Sydney to LA and you haven't got the appropriate documentation to enter the country, then Qantas has got to fly you home for free. So it may not necessarily be a matter of what the Australian government wants. It's a matter of what all the other governments of the world want, and need is going to dictate what's going to happen. And what the International Air Transport Association is trying to achieve, which is exactly what Allen Joyce is saying, is a uniform standard right across the globe. And I would expect that 99% of countries will sign up to it and make it mandatory for vaccination before you travel by air.
And I presume it'll be wanted by the insurance industry. You won't get insurance. And having a uniform sort of global view of the world here avoids the circus we've had in Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, everywhere around the country where there's been different sets of rules for what determines opening the borders or closing the borders. And this is a way around all of that.